Kelly's Eye, brought to you by Ellis Brown Architects.
Peter, what's Kelly's Eye looking at today?
Today, David, something we've never looked at before. Giant Lego.
Giant Lego? You don't mean scaffolding, do you?
No. Or maybe, is it Duplo, the other stuff you get that very small children use?
Oh, right, it's a heap of... it's a heap of something there. It actually looks like a whole lot of rather large petrol cans underneath the scaffolding, is that it?
Well, they're great big plastic things, red and white, but if you notice, they've got a little bleep thing on the side, at either end, so you connect them. I think it's probably meant to be to create a barrier to stop traffic or something. But I mean, these things are about 1 metre long and 600 millimetres high and 400... Hey, I'm talking metric.
Oh dear, now you're letting the side down there. But are they hollow?
They're hollow. Possibly, I think you fill them with water. Down by the Villiers site in TT Week, I think they use this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's in front of a building because there's very little on the building to actually focus in on. It's one of the most plainest buildings I've come across. It's brand new. It's not quite finished. The scaffold is just down at the ground level at the moment. And what we've got is a block of apartments. I don't know how many. We're standing on Peel Road. To the right is Belmont Terrace, with that great articulation of bay window, running along. Make a lovely black and white photograph at the right angle running through. What used to be here was a single dwelling called Pleasington Villa, a rather high Victorian, almost Gothic single dwelling, and out behind it was stables. I think, certainly for a long time, it belonged to Mr. Gell, who was a painter. I mean, I'm talking about 1890s or earlier.
Yeah.
At some point it came into the hands of Mr. Quine of Quine and Shimon, the boot makers and repairers of Strand Street, and then Mr. Quine's daughter, who married Alfie Cayley of Cayley's the Bakers. She lived here, and in fact Alfie Cayley, the great amateur photographer, lived here, and I gather a lot of his negatives were left in the outbuildings, which is a great pity because they've now gone.
Yeah.
But in its place, and extending into what was a vacant plot alongside, because part of the major sewer from Hillside Avenue came down through, and they've had to move that. Yeah. They've built this block which is timber framed,
right?
And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 floors, and they put slight projections on the front. They're not angled the same as the bays on the terrace, and fortunately it is now detached from the terrace. I think at one point the idea was to extend the terrace, so it's a standalone building. There's no mouldings above the windows. There's just one string course, and then there are 3 peaks on the front. 2 of them are painted white, this sort of triangle set in.
Yeah.
But if we look at the third one, it looks very much as if it's a piece of plywood or something. I don't know.
It does, and it hasn't been painted.
It hasn't been painted.
Haven't been able to reach that yet.
It may be that it's cement. I don't know, because it's had a first coat.
Yeah.
I hope it isn't timber, because if it is, I'm afraid within 10 years they'll be replacing it. So here we are. This is progress. Instead of one dwelling, we have multi-dwellings. Behind, no doubt, they have a large car park, which will be accessed from the lane behind Hillside Avenue.
But it's nothing like the architecture alongside it, is it? I mean, if you couldn't get further away from it, really.
Well, you couldn't, but what you've got to bear in mind is on the other side of it are 1920s dwellings, and really this building was in a position to be the link, something to break with the Victorian and move in. But I would have said in doing that, because they are only ground floor and first floor, that in fact this block should have been a floor less. So visually you come down in height. But anyway, the planners have approved it. Remaining at the moment are still the rather nice gate pillars to what was Pleasington Villa, and just a little section of railing. Be interesting to see what happens in due course. Is that to be left? Does that become the entrance to the door, which we're yet to see because it's covered in plywood?
Well, interesting enough, it hasn't been torn away at this stage. So
well,
maybe
not
that's
yet, but you may end up with the whole of the front pulled out and a rustic brick wall or something. Who knows? Time will tell. But certainly compared to other new buildings, I'm afraid this one doesn't rate high in terms of thought and architectural style.
Doesn't have any numbering as far as we can tell either at this stage.
I would imagine its number will be Peel Road as opposed to Belmont Terrace. Well, yes, it can't be Belmont Terrace because the first house beside it is number 1 Belmont Terrace. Okay. They number going the other way, so
it'll get some fancy name, something apartments, won't it, probably?
Yes, be interesting whether they perpetuate the name Pleasington Villa.
Many of the most iconic buildings around the island have been designed by Ellis Brown Architects. Keep up with Ellis Brown today on Facebook or via ellisbrown.im.